Hi, hello. Today I'm going to be showing off a Mongol strategy that I've been really enjoying in ladder, and we'll get right into it with this replay. Now, just call attention, I am playing against an English player. This is Altai. This is the latest patch, but with the bugged map pool, it's still Altai, but that's totally fine. This does work on other maps, though potentially not wetlands, or at least it's very different on wetlands, and potentially not in French Pass. I haven't actually checked where the market spawns there because I'm dreading playing French Pass. Um, but let's get right into the strategy. So this is going to be a silver tree strategy, a little different than just a trade move silver tree though, as you'll see. The objective here is for us to secure an initial drop off of 4 traders as fast as possible. And we'll do that through a couple of techniques, some of them a little more out there and bizarre than you might be used to with Mongol play. But I find that they work pretty well and they've been pretty safe for me. And the opening in general is very flexible. As I explained, we'll try to drop off with 4 traders to get a initial boost to our economy. There's a lot of ways you can play that, and a lot of this is going to be reactive. So you do need to understand your opponent, understand your options, and make correct choices. In this particular case, my English opponent here will go for a fast castle, as well as some amount of pressure on the trade route, as is dictated by seeing a trade route, right? You can't just leave it idle or it will carry away with the game. So we'll see some pressure as well as still attempt to adhere to a castle timing. Um, and in that case, what I like to do and what I can do in this situation is a fast castle of my own. And as you'll see, it's a lot more aggressive, a lot more timely than what the English can put out while also trying to pressure the trade route. So let's take a look and see what happens. Now, let's get into the build itself. As you can see, the most bizarre part of this build is I'm going to instant deploy the TC right where it spawns. With the Season 3 straggler trees, I know that I can get 450 wood very efficiently from my spawning location. Um, and by spawning the TC immediately where it starts, I save about 10 to 15 seconds from the time that I can queue my first villager. Typically, the TC here will, if you do it correctly, deploy at about 8-9 seconds into the game. In this case, I did move the TC slightly. My cursor was off, so it will deploy about a second or two later than that, and that does going to cost my timings. And I'll show the timings as they are in this game, but I will explain, in a more optimized setting what the timings can be. Another thing I'll throw off my timings is I will have a little bit of inefficient food collection at the start, which throws off the feudal timing. Um, so what you want to do to execute this is you start off, you want to deploy the TC, take the con, signal arrow, and run him around and collect the sheep immediately around the TC. And then let the Gur auto move out of the way of the TC. And same with the villagers. So we're going to see, and I'll put this at half speed so you can kind of see everything that's going on. The TC is going to deploy, Khan's moving out, the villagers will naturally pass out, and then I want to take 5 villagers, food, 1 villager to the Uvu, and then shift them onto the gold. Now the sheep should be coming into the TC, that's something I messed up, just kind of poor initial management here, but you want the sheep to come into the TC and be right under it. Now my TC has deployed, I can queue up my villagers and we get started. We're going to do kind of a traditional, or not really traditional, but the optimized 9-2 split, kind of the best way to get a fast feudal. Um, so we're going to put a 6 villager onto food, and then the next one's going to rally to gold. So we'll have 6 on food, 2 on gold. Then we're going to go to 9 on food, 2 on gold, and then we're going to rally to wood. And then that'll get us to a feudal timing. Now with sheep, you are going to need a lot of sheep for this, so you do want to make sure, if needed, you can drop off at the con. In this case, I got an extra sheep here pretty early on from the con running this way. So I'll have 4 sheep total, sorry, 5 sheep total. There's 2 here that already been slaughtered and then 3 more to go. And so that'll last me, I know, until about 3 minutes. Sometimes you might need to come back more like the 2-minute mark to drop off some sheep. So we can kind of feed through the feudal here until we get to that 9-2 split. And then what I'm going to do also, you can do this, hockey them earlier as advised. We're going to take 5 villagers and I'm going to build my landmark when it becomes time. Now I do want to talk about that. You can also build a landmark with 4 villagers if you're expecting a very early aggression from the opponent. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive, but by only building with 4, I can have a little wood faster. So I'll do If I'm doing that option, I'm going to put 4 into the landmark and then take one food villager and put them onto wood. So I'd have 4 on food, an extra villager on wood, and then the rest on the landmark. And that'll age you up slower, but it'll have more wood so that I can put out a faster, stables or racks or archery range. In this case, I do scout them right now, and just from the information I see, kind of see the lumber camp. I see they're not going for, say, straggler trees. And then later I'll scout the gold and kind of see what's going on with the gold. I know that they're going to go for, a little bit of slower age up. That aggression won't be quite as severe early on, so I'll have some options. Um, so in that case, I'm going to go with the 5 on the age up. It's usually typically you can get away with the 5, but the 4 might be good in some cases if you're expecting a really early age up by second English player. So the 5 here, they're going to move out. They are going to put the silver tree directly under the uvu. I know it's a little less efficient for the villagers, but it will, let us make those traders right away. Um, Now, this is about 230. We're starting the age up. If you do have the more optimized build, this would, with the start and kind of the TC deploying and everything and the food rallying, this would be starting at more about like a 215, 218. So, you can hit a really early timing on this age up, which is great. Now, otherwise, during the feudal age up, I'm going to rally onto wood, 1 on each straggler tree, then 2 on straggler trees in the reverse order. This will balance the trees so they all run out, at roughly the same time. And you don't want the villagers going from straggler tree to straggler tree to straggler tree because that's a lot of wasted resource gathering. The other part of the build is because I'm against English, I'm going to go stables first. You can play this Mingadai first, in which case these 2 on gold would just stay in gold until the traders drop off. Um, but because that's not really viable against English, I'm going to go for stables, and then I don't need the excess gold that these villages provide. So once they get 95 gold, which is enough for 2 rounds of traders and a horseman, I will be going. Um, I will be going to pull these off of food. Sorry, off of gold onto food. So once I hit 95 gold, I want to pick up the gur. In this case, it's Altai. I'll put them on the sheep. I can also put them on a berry. Sorry, not sheep. Deer pack. I can also put them on berries though. So you want to watch out for that. Kind of watch the gold count. I do believe I'm a little bit slow to transfer these off. It's not a huge deal. It's just a little excess gold that I won't be spending for quite a while. Um, that's not too problem. Otherwise, with the con, I do want to make sure I scout out which side the market's on. Not try to always spawn in the corner. In Dry Arabia, you have to pay attention to some other spawn locations, but you do want to know where that market is, of course. And we'll conclude the age up. These workers will go back to food after age up because I need that food to come for the stables essentially. And I do want it for the fast castle that I'm going to be attempting. So again, because my opponent is English, I do want to be a little more defensive. They have the council hall. They can send an early longbow. They can send an early spear because they do like to, value that early racks. So instead of queuing up all 4 traders right away, I'm going to queue 2 traders, make a production building, and then queue the second set of traders. That'll get the production building out just a little bit earlier. It gets the first set of horsemen out at a good timing to kind of fend off or at least push back any harassment on the traders you might see. Now, the big question is like, why is all this worth it? Besides just the timing and accelerating when those traders go, by having the silver tree out so early, it makes it really difficult to stop the first drop off. You can see here, I'm going to age up at about 4 minutes. If this was optimized, I'd be aging up at about 345, 348. And the first traders, as a consequence, come out as early as about 405. That at that point, it's very unlikely the opponent has any units out. It's a very difficult timing to make units unless you're making Dark Age units. You can see, obviously the English isn't even feudal yet. Um, and it makes it really easy for this market to be accessed. You do need to watch out for walling. If they wall it off, that can be disastrous. So, ideally with this con, I'd maybe run them over next to the market here, though I kind of got the sense that, they weren't going for that. So I didn't do it in this particular case. Also, because the market timing so early, they will reach this market so early, the traders, and then my initial defense doesn't need to worry so much about the picking up part. I only need to worry about getting them down to where the silver tree will end up. So it's a lot less space to defend. And as you can imagine, the space behind my base, this early in the game, it's very easy to defend. So I really only need to concern myself with, a small portion of the map to secure those drop-offs. So you can see here, markets up, first traders are coming out. Um, I will make that gold transfer soon. I'm a little late on it. It's not a huge deal. And then I'm rallying to wood. I am going to go up to 8 on wood. Um, so it'll be 6 here, I think, when you see it, because 2 will be building the stables. I do, again, because of that potential for early English aggression, I do want the stables up, kind of on the quicker side. So I'm going to use 2 workers to do it. I could also do it with 1. In this case, you can see my opponent just hit feudal. So that means their first units could potentially come out at about 445. And then, you'd imagine about 30 seconds, 40 seconds to really get over and start pressuring the market or my villages that will be on the deer here. So, I'm going to be pretty comfortable here with the stables and the units is going to produce. And meanwhile, I'm also scouting them to just kind of, again, get a sense of where they're going. This also confirms something for me. I see these villagers coming to gold. 4 is kind of a lot for that. I can see that the barracks is going down, but it's not, it's not earlier. So I have even more time. I know a horseman or 2 horsemen are going to defend well into about 6 minutes at this point, right? Because we'll see this stable this rack's completed in about 5 minutes, 15 seconds to make the first spearman, and then about another 30 seconds for it to cross the map. So I know I'm in a very comfortable position here for my trade. I also know because so many villages are coming to gold, they're probably eyeing a fast castle. Very reasonable, opening by English players, but that kind of informs what I do next, which is my own fast castle. So what you'll see is now that I'm hitting about that 6 on wood, I'm going to start just rallying to food, and it's going to be food here on out until I go to castle. Um, so we have the traders. They're going to pick up their first pickup. Once the second set of traders are produced, just a moment here. Once this finishes, I will move the silver tree into position. In terms of unit movement and stuff I'm looking out for now, um, I want to be cautious about securing my silver tree movement. These traders have confirmed that no, I don't have a wall off of, an early villager here trying to wall off the market for this initial pickup, so I don't have to worry about that side. So really all I need to worry about for defense early on is these villagers that will be exposed here and the traders making it down to the silver tree. Now that I've built my kind of initial set of wood, which is the 4 traders and the horsemen, I do need to start looking to secure a gur and a wood line. So these straggler tree villagers, they will build a gur once I get 100 wood. And again, it's not, it's pretty comfortable and it shouldn't be too much of a problem to get them on there. But you do want to make sure that you have that secured and, building at a nice time so that your villagers don't become idle or walk around and do inefficient wood things. So you can see I have the 100 wood. I'm starting the gur. If I need to, I can take these villagers and, bring them to the gur, which I think is optimal, but I think I kind of mismicro that. So these villagers should be heading to the gur in the wood line. Instead, they're going to come here and chop the straggler tree. Little inefficiencies, again, can be cleaned up just with a little better play on my part. Meanwhile, my Khan is coming back here. I really want to make sure that a wall is not going to go up here because that will really slow down my trade route. Unfortunately, it actually wouldn't be too bad because I have the secondary option here. But, I want the Khan here. And additionally, my horsemen, you can see they're going to be relatively defensive here to start. They're going to kind of make sure these villages are protected. They're going to protect a path, to harassing my traders here by standing here. And then also, if I need to, I can pull them to this corner very quickly. Once I do have confidence that the trade route's secure, I can be much more aggressive with the horsemen and start harassing, gold or any exposed resources, and kind of get that, better sense of what my opponent is doing. You can see here right about 6 minutes, these villager traders, first set of traders are already coming in, coming in hot for the drop off. Now, just talking about the economy of what these traders are going to do, they're going to each get me about 200 resources, 180 gold, 20 food. So this first set of traders will pay for all 4 traders. They're going to drop off and gain about 400 resources. I paid 360 for the traders. And then the second set here is going to be 400 resources in profit, which is already great. It's already an awesome economic, boon early on. But it's actually even better than that. So half of the resources I spent on these traders was stone. And early on as Mongols, you tend to have a lot of stone. You've been gathering it in Dark Age, you've gathered in Feudal for a few minutes, and if I'm facing anything other than all-out aggression, I don't need that stone purely for units, right? I don't want 10 double-produced horsemen. That's a lot of my resources going in, including just to spend that stone. So trading 180 stone, or sorry, yeah, 180 stone for 180 gold um, is a great trade early on. I can do a lot more with that gold. I can tick up with it, notably. So really, these traders are giving me quite the economic benefit early on in a way that I want. You can see he kind of tries to scout it out and stop it um, with the scout, but the con's there to fend him off and threaten the scout if he keeps it around. Um, Otherwise, what you're going to see me doing is I am going to drop 2 towers to secure both sides of this wood line. Again, it's kind of that fear of longbow harassment or early pressure. Um, but what I'm notably not doing is securing the trade line. Now that I know that I want to target the fast castle, I really only care about the first drop off from these traders. That's going to give me 700 gold, more than enough to both go for castle and start some of what I want to do as I go there. So I'm going to just let these traders, kind of leave them to their fate. And pretty soon we're going to see exactly what that fate entails. Meanwhile, my horsemen, they're going to pick up a men-at-arms kill. This men-at-arms kill, because of where the men-at-arms is moving to the left, I do know that they're going for a player in the market. So ideally, what I could do even right now, as early as this, is I could redirect these traders to the market that I know is going to be here, because the Altai markets already spawn opposite corners. Um, but I don't do that. I'm kind of a little slow on that. But I will see kind of exactly what they're up to, and it's actually the perfect response you want to see kind of to the fast castle strategy in a lot of ways, is that they built a wall. So you can see this trader redirected. I now know there's a wall here. There's likely, a tower going somewhere around here to kind of cover that wall so I don't just knock it down. And that's great because it means they're walling up both markets. And the reason that's great is because that wood that they're spending, and we can see that here, they have the full wall going here, full wall here, and a tower will go here shortly. That's not going to protect their base. That's wood being spent elsewhere. It means they're not dropping additional production buildings, they're not dropping defense, they're not dropping a blacksmith, and that leaves them wide open at home. And I'm going to punish the heck out of that. So what we'll see here, I'm up to about 19 food. At this point, about 18 to 20 food, I can do my age up. And that's using the 600 gold from the traders plus the food I've been gathering by being able to put everyone on food. Now, if I was doing a traditional fast castle, you might see a timing around this. It might be a little bit slower. Again, this could be even faster if I do less units, but you'll see a lot less on wood and a lot less on food. And that translates into essentially a lot less you can do right out of that castle. If I was doing a traditional fast castle, I'd be relying pretty heavily, say, on lancers or say, a lancers in another production building, but without blacksmith upgrades. Or, I might only have one tower trying to hit this timing. But because I have that trader boon, I can kind of get it all. I am going to go for step readout. This is in response to knowing that my trade route is compromised. Even if it wasn't, I would expect it to be pretty soon. So the step readout here is great. It kind of puts me into a position where I'm not all in on trade. And as you can see, this is a very non-committal trade. I made my money. I'm happy to get out of the stock market, as it were, and just kind of use my economic benefit of step readout and punish. Punish, punish. That's going to be the name of the game here. So what I'm going to do is use the first 150 wood, drop a blacksmith. Second 150 wood is going to go to a racks and then a second racks. And I do this because I know where they're at. I know they've invested all this wood. I know that they're going to struggle to fast castle. I know that these horsemen, if they do go for a fast castle at this point, are going to cause a lot of problems. So I'm going to kind of force more units out, which is forcing more food, which is going to slow down the castle. So I know I'm in a great position to really punish with men-at-arms. I know my English opponent here, they're not on a lot of production. They don't have blacksmith upgrades. They're stuck with spears, potentially men-at-arms, feudal men-at-arms, and that's all very abusable by Castle Age men-at-arms, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I do some miss micro here. These traders are going to die because I didn't value them correctly. These ones are going to die because I let them go too far when I see this response. of the wall, which I do burn it down, kill a villager, and then get tangled up in the spears. These horses will still get out, but I will take some losses. So we're at 8:45. I hit that castle timing. Again, it can be faster. It can be a little bit slower depending on exactly how many horsemen you make, how much unit production or pressure you end up under. But ideally, when you're doing the castle version of this, you're kind of not facing a lot of pressure, um, and you want to be the one pushing it on. So I've got my blacksmith done. We'll start the iron undermesh. Gonna drop the racks. Because these racks aren't completed yet, I will opt for a double lancer here in just a moment, um, just to kind of be able to start applying some of that early castle pressure. Because I know he has some spearmen, but not a lot, so I still have some of the lancers, and they still have a lot that they can do. You can see my second pack of trade is dying here. That's fine. Um, Now, if my opponent had walled off, if they'd really gone defensive, I could take this opportunity of the castle timing. I could open up the trade route again, start trade again, and basically force them out. That's the other kind of beauty of this strategy in general, is that the trade forces your opponent on the map, and you have a lot of good options as Mongols to fight on the map. Where Mongols can really struggle early on is fighting, defensive positions. Be that a walled off base, that could even potentially be like the sacred sites if you're playing a Delhi player. These are areas that can be hard for you to challenge, but the trade-up forces the opponent on the map, and you can punish that a whole heck of a lot. Um, so here we got the Lancers. I kill a scout. We started the men-at-arms span immediately, or as soon as I can. The wedge rivets will come in for the second ranged armor upgrade, and we're going to just go, go, go. So the name of the game here out is going to be disrupting their economy. I'm going to get my initial men-at-arms mass. I'm going to start throwing it at their base. Meanwhile, circling around with the horsemen. And then as I get a larger men-at-arms number, they'll start splitting up their aggression. So I'm coming in here. I'm seeing what they've got. They can't defend these men-at-arms, right? There's not enough army. There's not enough units. They could maybe do it, but I would come out favorable in the trade. Meanwhile, these horsemen are going to come in, start disrupting economy. I'm going to start stressing their words, start stressing their castle timing, putting pressure just everywhere I can. And this is something you can see do even as Mongols in other situations, with other openings. If you kind of get in the situation where you've really, punished your opponent's castle timing. So you can see, such a castle mode, you can see that the worker kills will start racking up for me. The pressure is going to start mounting. I'm hitting everything. I'm hitting the stone. I'm hitting the wood. I'm hitting the food when I can, and I'm just going to start flooding everywhere I can. Now to back this up, I'm going to start my pasture economy. Kind of standard Mongol stuff. I'll drop a mosque. The mosque is great here. The prayer tent. The prayer tent does two things. It's going to obviously secure me relics, give me the sites, but it's also going to give me the opportunity to heal these men at arms when I'm fighting in these low numbers. For example, this men-at-arms, I can pull them back, heal them up, and then, I made a ton of resources. In this case, I probably missed my code. This one dies, but there is going to be others you'll see that I, pull back and heal. Meanwhile, I'm doing things like checking this gold here. I know that they're not on it. Now I'm going to go and start hitting other areas. Just idling the economy as much as possible, putting as much pressure on as I can. And really, there's not good options for my opponent at this point. You can see that they're on these three racks. They're probably thinking that maybe they can punish with a good men-at-arms or good spearman spam. But they really don't have a whole lot of wood to work with. They don't have a lot of gold to work with. Even if they had a range down, how many crossbowmen are they really getting out at this point? If they do get out crossbowmen in threatening numbers, I can pull back and rely more on the lancers. To do some harassment while I build up my own, countermeasures, the improved siege engineering, things like that. But in this case, they're kind of stuck on these racks, and they really need these units out to defend. So I'm just going to keep punishing that. More and more men-at-arms, more and more harass, more and more hitting different areas. And we'll see this kind of continue on for a couple points. They have to wall off here to kind of secure this gold, which is fine. It'd be ideal if I hit this earlier, but I think I eventually get to it. And we got units kind of coming in all places. You can see, they're trading. They are getting a little bit, they are getting the better of the destroyed value. But when you factor in the idle economy time, you factor in the 16 worker kills, I'm coming out way ahead. And they're not even that far ahead on the destroyed value. Um, So now I have eventually the siege engineering will come through in a couple moments here, and then you'll see me kind of pull back and basically go for the end game here. I know that I've pulled so far ahead, that I've limited my opponent's options so much that I can pull back, make a trebuchet, choke off the resources, grab the relics, and close this game out. And we'll kind of see that play out here. And you can see here very quickly the army count is going to start pulling away. I do have my ranges out. 3 ranges have added on with the wood I'm gathering, and I've started pumping units. Now I didn't really talk about the economy post castle, but what I end up in is about 7 or 8 on gold. That's enough to fuel the men at arms, enough to fuel um, crossbowmen as well as some upgrades. If I were doing Lancer spam, it'd be more in gold. Otherwise, on food, I've gone probably about 20 to start to really, be able to make sure that I can provide and power my food economy, and then got up onward to about the 16 mark. If I was dropping siege earlier, I want this to be a little bit higher, but really looking just kind of a well balanced economy, usually about 20 25 on food, and then as many as you can on wood to kind of get the siege equipment going, and then what you need on gold to kind of keep that all in balance. So really nothing too interesting there, but you can see I've got trebuchet going down. I first start with the Springle just so it can respond to like enemy Springle if I really needed to, and then I'll add eventually a second trab, maybe some catapults and stuff like that. I don't add catapults earlier because I know they don't have many archers, so what's the point? But I do expect that eventually I'll see maybe some crossbowmen, so I do want to be prepared for that. Meanwhile, everything else is pretty standard. I got melee upgrades coming through, so I'm just, really pulling ahead in the upgrades. You can see here I'm +2 range, +1 melee, +1 melee, and they're just sitting on 1 range, 1 melee, which is not helpful for the coming attack. And you can see that my military is just exploding, and there's really no way they can hold this. And so eventually, I get the King's Palace, I get the infrastructure over here. I do scout out the siege workshop, so I'll move over here and then start pressuring that. And there's really just nothing they can do to get back into this game at this point. You can see I'm even hitting the gold over here with some more men at arms, pushing them fully off of gold. And yeah, that's going to be the game. So we'll have one last fight here in just a moment. I can show that just for completeness. But that's the strategy, and that's how I like to play it. Again, I think it's really flexible. You can do a lot of things with the traders. You can go into things like two town centers. You can go into just all feudal aggression. That gold is really yours. There's really tons of ways you can spend it, and it really just makes a very strong response. Again, it forces the opponent out on the map. It also forces them to do things they may not otherwise not want to do, and then you have a wide range of options to punish it. So you can see here, I'm just gonna clean up this army. Got way too many men at arms, way too many crossbowmen, and he taps out. And that's it. That's how I like to play Mongols right now, and I think this is a strategy with a lot of potential. Again, to kind of cover the timings, when I do them optimally, you should have about a 345 feudal, and then the first trader should be out at about 408. Their first drop off's around like 6 minutes, 6:15, and then the second one drops off, I think, more around like 6:30. So again, that's very early on in the game, very little aggression options you can do against that, and it just, yeah, can work out very well. In terms of civs that I like to do it against, I'm still experimenting. Some of the civs I don't see as much in the ladder, but any of the slower start civs, I think it works great for. Um, I would say against Mongols, French, and Ottomans are the most worrying. Mongols can do Dark Age stuff, so do need to be careful of that. But I do like fast feudal against Mongols. It lets you drop a range, get Mangadai out, punish, say, Spearmen pretty heavily, and then Mangadai are great in that matchup. So you can really just kind of snowball off of that and have a bit of an advantage in terms of how you spent your resources. Ottomans, they pose obviously a big challenge because they'll get the Dark Age spears for free, so they're almost guaranteed to be able to pressure, your early traders. And then you also have to watch out for their feudal kind of heavy aggression. Um, so you kind of want to handle that one delicately. You might even want to just opt for a different strategy against Ottoman. I again do kind of like a fast feudal against Ottoman. I like getting the Mangadai out, pressure, their spearmen that they have from the military school, and then transition into say like a counter archer ball that, ideally I try to hold or make use of that. But that matchup you can play it a lot of different ways, so you can decide what works for you. And then obviously the last one is French. They'll get the early knights out. If you do the 4-up on age up and drop a barracks either before the first set of traders or after the first set of traders. You can probably get your spearmen out and kind of defend that trade route. It is the most dicey. Again, you might just want to opt to tower rush them and handle the game that way. It's a favorable matchup for Mongols anyway, so you might not want to opt this strategy, but I think there is some room to make it work if if you have the right map and the right spawn and you're feeling good about it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this strategy, and I think it has a lot of potential, and hopefully you find it enjoyable. Thanks, everyone.